Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and today we're going to take an early look at some of the new April LEGO Marvel sets, specifically the new Hall of Armor featuring Aldrich Killian the Fake Mandarin, as well as a new version of the Iron Patriot, plus a fun one for kids, the Thanos vs. Hulk Monster Truck. Let's take a look right now. Alright, so here are the two brand new April LEGO Marvel sets. One of them is more kid-oriented, it's 76312 the Hulk Truck versus Thanos with 229 pieces and retailing for $35 US, and the other one is celebrating the Infinity Saga, specifically Iron Man 3. With set number 76315, Iron Man's Laboratory Hall of Armor, with 384 pieces, and I can't believe I'm reading this correctly, but retailing at $55 US. And we'll be revisiting that price later on as we dive deeper into the set. Both of these sets offer a couple of new minifigures, one of the sets more exciting than the other when it comes to the minifigure selection, and to me they both are kind of emblematic of some of the problems I've been having with the Marvel theme as of late. But I'm going to save a lot of those in-depth thoughts for a separate video I've been wanting to put out for a while now, about the problem with LEGO Marvel. You see, I love Marvel in general, I love DC, I love superheroes, I watch literally every piece of superhero media that releases, yes, even the bad ones, and because of this love and passion that I have for superheroes, I really expect a lot out of LEGO Marvel sets, and for a while they seem to be doing really well. But this year in particular, and also throughout last year, there have been some issues that have been popping up that I really wanted to make a more dedicated video on. So stay tuned for that, it is going to be a full in-depth video essay, but for now let's dive into the individual sets. We're going to start off actually with the one that's a little more exciting to me, which is the Hall of Armor here. It's the latest in the Hall of Armor series, and we have gotten a lot of these. In fact, they're all modular with each other. The way all of the Hall of Armor sets work is that they have these individual modules for each of the suits, which you can connect up and stack in a large circular display, or just arrange it and stack them in pretty much whatever way you want. We got one in 2019 for Avengers Endgame, then one in 2020 for the Iron Man Armory, and then we got one in 2022, also titled Iron Man Armory but much larger, and now we get this one. This is particularly themed towards Iron Man 3, it seems, which is quite interesting. We're getting Aldrich Killian for the second time as a LEGO minifigure, but the first time as a fully accurate minifig. We're getting a build for Igor from that movie as well, and we're also getting two other random Iron Man suits, the Mark 6 and the Mark 46, which are basically just random suits LEGO happened to be including in other sets around the time of this release and wanted to throw them in to save money. One of the main features of the set is this minifigure plinth here. You can use it to display your minifigures, and it also has the robotic arms to actually suit up Iron Man, as well as a sticker showcasing the arc reactor and some technical details. It's super simple, but it's actually one of my favorite parts of the set because it acts as a really nice minifig display stand. Speaking of minifig display stands, that's kind of the entire point behind this set. The Iron Man Armory in 2022 introduced a new slight variation on the way these are done, and I actually really like it. Especially, they were able to include these transparent blue garage door elements, which, when oriented in this orientation, curving inwards, marks a really nice and clean transition between the armor suits. And then, when you fold it the other way, it kind of feels like each suit has its own contained place. I really do like that addition, and I hope that future Hall of Armors will continue to use this method. It's slightly different than the one we got before, but close enough that they can all fit together. And it's very different from some of the previous ones we've gotten in the first 2 years of its release, the 2019 and 2020 ones, but I actually prefer these ones a lot better. You can place minifigures into the Hall of Armor standing on top of the exhaust jets or just standing as a standard minifig itself, and I really appreciate how these stickers actually tie into not just these Iron Man suits, but one more that is currently available. And again, all of it is modular, so if you were crazy enough to buy multiple copies of the set, you could theoretically just make an entire circle, or combine it with any of the previous ones from prior years. The only downside to that is, well, these sets are always, for whatever reason, incredibly overpriced and expensive. The previous Iron Man Armory had 496 pieces and retailed for $90, which was a little worse than this, you could say that, but this isn't much better. 384 pieces for $55, and I'm gonna go back to that in a little bit. One of the other pretty nifty features they included here that I actually do kinda like is this scanning element. It's kind of this nanotech scanning display that showcases a rippling pattern, almost like the arc reactor is pulsing as you move it up and down. It's a very minute effect, and it's honestly kind of hard to notice unless you move it very slowly back and forth. I didn't even notice it until playing around with it much more in depth, and I realized that the way the patterns work is that these lines specifically make it seem like it's pulsing, which is a really nice touch. It's actually quite rare to have these stickers that are transparent work as well as this, and I think it's super cool. How obviously, as you can see me zoomed in close here and showcasing the scanner moving back and forth, it really looks like this is pulsing with energy. It's a simple effect, but not what I've really seen replicated in LEGO form before, so I do like it. That being said, I actually really wish that this had some clips on the side to be able to attach it up to the Hall of Armor. As a standalone item, it is a little bit strange and can feel a bit out of place, given that it doesn't really connect to anything else in the set, and to my recollection, I don't really think it necessarily represents anything in particular from the MCU either. It kind of just looks like something people made up for the set. But moving on to the brick-built character included, this is Igor. Now this is the second time we have gotten Iron Man's Igor armor that is Mark 38, and the first time was in 2019 for the Endgame set Iron Man Hall of Armor. And I will say, this is decidedly an improvement over the old one. I see a lot of folks online saying the old one was better, and honestly, I just don't see it. I feel like this is better proportioned, it is really solid for a brick-built item, and it also has the added functionality to store a minifigure inside without it looking extremely awkward, which I'm going to demonstrate in a second. It also has movable hands, as well as a faceplate which can look up and down. Technically, it has a little less articulation than the prior version. That one had mixel joint articulation on both the shoulders and the elbows or hands, whatever you want to call them. This one just uses the LEGO Ninjago SCCBS fixed limb to actually have the elbows be fixed at one position, but to be completely honest, I think that helped the aesthetics a lot. Instead of having a pretty skinny joint there, it feels like this is very armored up, and I'm kinda happy trading that articulation for the fact that this does look a lot closer to the movie. That being said, I still don't really know why LEGO hasn't come up with a better way to do this and other figures like it. It's pretty clear that LEGO needs to come up with some sort of a mini-scale solution between big figs and regular minifigs, and this would have been the perfect candidate, but they still haven't really done anything like it outside of Axel from Nexo Knights. What's really interesting is that you can see in preliminary images of Nexo Knights Axel, he had a mixel jointed connection for the arms, so clearly LEGO is experimenting and was experimenting with figures like that all the way back in 2015 and 2016, but it still hasn't come to pass, and I would love to see LEGO experiment more with the way they can depict figures like this. I genuinely think this is probably the best you could do with a brick-built version, and of course it does have the added bonus of fitting in minifigures without it feeling too gappy without a minifigure, but also without it feeling like the minifigure is causing the armor to stick out too far. It's a pretty nice compromise, but I just have to say I really wish they dedicated a separate mold to this and decided to give us a more mini-scale style of minifigure that would just fit in a lot better with the LEGO style. As it is right now, this feels more like an external mech as opposed to an actual brick-built character, and that is a little disappointing to me. The scale overall is also a little bit off from what it actually looks like in the movies. It should be just a bit smaller than this, but again, it is a big improvement over the other one, and I definitely like it a lot better. The foot construction is nice with some studs in the side detail. It just overall looks a lot more accurate to the movie with the way it's mounted, and I actually really like the head here. It's a special print introduced for the set, it's not a sticker, so that's actually really nice. Speaking of the decals on this though, the one complaint I do have is that unfortunately the sticker sheet included in the set was transparent backed instead of white backed, which means the white stripes on this figure are just really dull and they tend to kind of blend in with the blue, because they had to use transparent stickers for the rest of the set. Otherwise though, it's pretty decent. I just wish that LEGO would eventually come up with a better solution. Moving on from that though, we can take a look at the Iron Patriot, and this is the second time we've gotten it as a minifigure, with the first time being all the way back as a GameStop pre-order exclusive, so I'm really happy we're getting this minifig in a standard release set, and folks who want the character won't have to pay exorbitant prices on the aftermarket to get him. I actually think this is probably the best version of the character we could have gotten. It's a lot better than the original one, and I love the amount of detailing on the helmet, on the body, on the armor, and everything. It's just really well done. The helmet in particular is fantastic, and it also introduces a face for Rhodey, which strangely doesn't have any sort of alternate facial expression on the back. We did previously have a specialized one for him, which showcased the kind of red visor face printing he had with the visor in, but having just this one is totally okay, and I can see them probably using this on some other figures too, but getting in the cheekbones and kind of an older sculpt for the print of the face is quite nice. Overall, from the metallic printing used on the torso and legs, and the helmet being as detailed as it is with the red stripe around the helmet, this is definitely my favorite minifig of the set. And it makes sense because the Hall of Armor always needs to focus on at least one new Iron Man suit. The other brand new figure is Aldrich Killian, although really the only thing brand new about the character is the torso. He suffers from a case of Han Solo, which is basically because he's using the exact same facial print as Han Solo and the exact same hair mold, just in a slightly different color, which I guess if you kind of squint, you can argue that it kind of fits Guy Pearce's iteration of the character, but I don't know. I feel like it just is, to me, the Lego Han Solo face, which is why it feels very strange to have the minifigure just reuse it. I would have loved to see an extra face which actually was custom to the figure, and they could have totally done it with him breathing fire or having his eyes glow, but sadly all we get is a torso. It is still nice to get a custom torso, but it is what it is. Lastly, technically there is another new figure in the set, and that is Pepper Potts, although the only new thing about her is the new shade of color for the hair. Previously, we got this version of the character in the Iron Man 1 Infinity Saga sets, where she used a slightly duller shade of orange for the hair. This one has been molded in the brand new brighter orange color they introduced for LEGO Space last year, which, looking back at how she appears in the movie, I'm not convinced this was the right color. It feels almost too bright for the character, and I actually kind of like the color that it once was, but I can see LEGO kind of going back and forth, and hey, it's always good to get a brand new color of hairpiece, especially one in a new color. And lastly, we're going to take a look at the two Iron Man suits here just really quickly because these actually did appear in a number of other sets already. Iron Man Mark 6 as well as Iron Man Mark 46. Now, what I will say is that it is nice to get the Iron Man Mark 6 undamaged outside of just the $100 Marvel logo set, although this one isn't really looking that much better in terms of price. And then the Mark 46 we actually did just get in the Captain America Civil War battle set, which was also $100 earlier this year. So I guess it is nice to get those two minifigures, which were previously exclusive to $100 sets, both in this $55 set. But when this $55 set only has 364 pieces and a couple small side builds, are you really getting that much more value? More on that in a little bit. Lastly, as we wrap up all the figures here, I do want to say the thing about the figure selection that is a little unfortunate is that for $55, personally, I would have loved to see at least one brand new Iron Man armor, just one more, or just switch over one of the other existing figures, like instead of getting the Mark 46, which doesn't really feel like it fits in this set because it came out for Civil War and isn't an Iron Man 3 armor, just give us one of the other many different armor variations we still haven't gotten in LEGO form. It would be a total dream come true to one day have a copy of every single Iron Man armor we saw in Iron Man 3 depicted in LEGO form, but sadly this set technically doesn't even include any of them, cause Iron Patriot isn't technically an Iron Man armor, so I just would have loved to see something a bit different, especially for the price. And then speaking of the price, I don't know, I just cannot defend $55 for just 384 pieces. I know that we've moved on from price per piece as a metric, and there are a lot more factors that go into making a set, but let's look at the facts here. We have one brand new minifigure, so taking a look at the element frames, as LEGO would call them, included in the set, that's one torso, one pair of legs, and one helmet. Okay, 3 new pieces. We also have a new torso for Aldrich Killian, 4 new pieces, and then we have a 5th new recolor of a hairpiece. That's basically it. I mean, I guess if you want to count the Igor faceplate being printed, I'm going to be generous and call it 6 brand new pieces. I feel like you could have gotten so much more bang for your buck by just using those extra 3 molds outside of Iron Patriot to just give us a different style of Iron Man armor. I mean, I guess you need conflict in a set, and while it is nice to get Aldrich Killian, I would have loved to see at least just one of the other styles of Iron Man suits instead of him. And I would have gladly traded a Pepper hair recolor and a printed Igor mask if it meant getting a new version of Iron Man in this set, and I think a lot of people would agree. It's the Hall of Armor after all, and previous Iron Man Hall of Armor sets have at least included a couple of brand new Iron Man suits, but this one doesn't include any, which is just so strange. But with that, let's now move on to the next set. Unfortunately, I can't really recommend this one at full price to anybody. I appreciate LEGO sending it to me for free for review, but I have to be honest here, and that's my honest opinion. But now let's move on to the next set. This is the Hulk truck versus Thanos, and it's a pretty goofy one. I actually do like how out there and comic booky this is. In a world where most of the Marvel sets that we get are either Spidey and his amazing friends or based off of the Infinity Saga, it's kind of a breath of fresh air to get just a random, for fun, Marvel Comics themed set, based off of nothing in the MCU, although maybe if you count the Thanos minifigure, he does kind of look like his MCU appearances. But the set itself is wholly original. Now, the last time we got two Hulk cars, that was when we got Hulk versus Red Hulk, and it also included She-Hulk and Red She-Hulk, which was very cool. The minifigures here are decidedly less exciting. It's a new version of Thanos, but Hulk is identical to previous iterations, despite the fact that he now does include a yellow helmet, which is also just kind of a funny concept to have Hulk wearing a helmet as he's driving his car around. The car itself is a pretty decent and fun standard build. It actually has rubber suspension on either side of the wheels, which is super cool. I like the amount of brick-built detail they factored in to accomplish that as well. It's just really nicely done, and I appreciate just how fun this is to play with. I think having some sort of steering mechanism could have been even cooler, mounting the wheels at some sort of an angle so when you tilt it back and forth, it steers to one side. I think that would have been awesome, but it is what it is. I do like it for the design, and it is just a very simple monster truck build. Honestly, you could take this exact build, remove the Hulk branding, and drop it into something like LEGO City Stunts, and I would absolutely believe it is a city set, for the better or for worse. There isn't really anything tying this to Marvel or to the Hulk outside of the color scheme and the stickers, which I honestly feel like is what detracts a bit from the set. If you're gonna go with a wacky Hulk monster truck vehicle, go all out and make it be shaped like a giant Hulk fist, or have some big fist sticking out of the sides, or decorate it with cracks. I don't know, I feel like there's just something a bit more interesting they could have done. But speaking of more interesting, this set is a small set featuring a battle between two characters, retailing for $35 US. Let's assume that you had to make it Hulk versus Thanos. You know what would have been really cool and something that would have pleased both adult and kid fans? Make the Thanos copter. $35, make the Thanos copter, throw the minifig Hulk in, and call it a day. Now, I cannot take credit for this idea. I was on the phone with my good friend Jonathan, aka Mini Superheroes Today, aka the guru for everything LEGO superheroes online, and he just randomly dropped that in the middle of a conversation. He was just like, hey, yeah, you know that Hulk truck set? What if they did the Thanos copter instead? Wouldn't that have been so much better? And I was like, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. I kind of wish they did that now. But alas, they didn't do it. Maybe one day we will get that, but I feel like that would have been a really solid meme set for adults and teens to want to pick up, and then kids to also just enjoy, because who doesn't love a big yellow helicopter? I'd probably imagine they'd like it as much as a big green dump truck. Moving on to the minifigures though, we have the Hulk, and he is unchanged from his previous minifigure appearance with the same facial expression and the same hairpiece. It is kind of funny how the sticker on the truck uses the style of hairpiece of the Hulk Big Fig, and this one obviously doesn't have that hairstyle, but I think it is alright for what it is, just nothing super special. It doesn't mean I have to make a new spot on my minifig wall, because technically it's a new variant. Thanos, on the other hand, is actually really cool, and I'm actually really happy with this version of Thanos. I feel like the armor is a pretty perfect blend between the comic book style as well as the MCU inspiration. You can clearly see it drawing inspiration from the MCU with the gold lines and the detailing there and the symbols, but the color scheme and some of these simplistic elements do call back to some of the outfits from the comics, which is really cool. I also love it every time they include the Minecraft head in transparent blue as the cosmic cube. I just think it's a really interesting piece to use in transparent for that element, and it actually works pretty well. Albeit a little oversized for the MCU version, but hey, you know, this is crazy LEGO comics and animation world. They can do whatever they want. Altogether, I'm actually kind of happier with this set compared to the other one. At least this one gives you something fun to play with. There's a truck that you can drive around, and the price isn't that egregious. It's $35, which still does feel pretty high, but for 229 pieces, 2 minifigs, one of which being a brand new one for the set, I can kind of excuse it a little bit more than the other set. But maybe I've just been conditioned to accept the outrageous Marvel prices more, because this is still very overpriced compared to, I would argue, the identical set had it have come out as a LEGO City set or even a LEGO Ninjago set. But with that, we have summed up our look at the Marvel April 2025 wave. Honestly, a pretty mixed bag, and I feel like it's kind of emblematic of a lot of the current issues with LEGO Marvel. It feels simultaneously that they're running out of ideas, but the ideas they do have could be good if they just refined them a little more, or came up with a different concept for the set. I have a lot more to share about this, and I am really looking forward to putting out that video on the problem with LEGO Marvel, because I've actually heard from LEGO that some folks internally do watch my videos. Folks watched my video about our original LEGO themes dying, and it was actually received fairly well from what I hear, and I love making videos like that because I love LEGO, and I want to do everything I can to at least put ideas out there and get from the community ideas as well. How would you improve LEGO Marvel? How would you improve LEGO themes? I want LEGO to succeed. I love LEGO so much, and I feel like LEGO Marvel needs to do better. And that's why I'm going to be working on that video. I don't know when it's going to come out, but stay tuned for that release. But as of right now, we have summed up my thoughts on the 2 brand new LEGO Marvel April sets. Gotta stay honest here on the Duckbricks channel, and let me know in the comments, what do you think of the sets? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Will you be picking them up when they drop on April 1st of this year? And I hope you enjoyed this early review. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.